At my 50th birthday party, my sons projected the highlights of my life, and it was a tape of humiliation voiced by my ex-wife. He was never enough, neither as a husband nor as a father. It ended with them saying they would change their last names. Laughter echoed as I sat there, frozen. I just nodded and walked out. The next morning, 56 missed calls from them. I'm not the kind of guy who usually posts on the internet. My oldest son, Nathan, set up this Reddit account for me years ago when he thought I needed to get with the times. I never used it. Not until now. It's currently 5:12 a.m. I've been up all night. My phone's been lighting up nonstop for the last few days, and I don't know what to do with myself anymore. I turned 50 last Saturday. Half a century. I figured maybe that's something worth acknowledging, a small celebration, a steak dinner, maybe a drink with friends. I'm not big on birthdays, never have been, but 50 felt different. For some context, I've been divorced for 8 years now. My ex-wife Laura and I were married for 19 years before she decided I wasn't exciting enough. That's what she told me, word for word. You're too steady. Predictable. Safe. Like those are flaws. Whatever. It's ancient history now. We have 3 sons together, Nathan, 29, Cameron, 26, and Lucas, 23. They took her side when we split. I can't even say I blame them entirely, they were still kids and she was always the fun one. She let them stay up late, skipped curfews, bought them expensive shoes I said we couldn't afford. I was the one who said no. The guy who insisted on rules, homework, bedtimes. You know, the boring parent. I still tried to be there for them after the divorce, birthday messages, Christmas gifts, the occasional lunch that always felt more like a performance review than a father-son outing. Anyway, 3 weeks ago, Nathan called out of the blue and said, "Dad, we want to throw you a party for your 50th. I didn't even know how to respond at first. I honestly thought he was joking. But he sounded sincere, even excited. He said all 3 of them had been thinking about it and they wanted to do something nice for me for once. Stupid me, I believed them. I bought a new shirt. Nothing fancy, just a crisp button-down in a color I don't usually wear. I even shaved that morning, something I don't always bother with on weekends. I was hopeful, actually looking forward to seeing my boys again, all of them together. Maybe turning 50 made them realize I wasn't going to be around forever. Maybe it was their way of saying, "We see you now." The party was at a local taproom not far from where Cameron's friend works as a manager. About 30 people showed up, a mix of old neighbors, 2 of my cousins, a couple guys I work with, and of course, my 3 sons. Laura was there too. That should have been my first red flag. But I figured maybe she was just trying to be polite for the boys' sake. Maybe she wanted to make peace too. The first hour or so went well. The food was decent, the drinks flowed. People clapped me on the back, toasted to the big 50, and said nice things. I kept thinking I was wrong about them. Maybe they do care. Maybe we're turning a corner here. I wish that had been the end of the story. Around 8 p.m., Nathan tapped his beer glass with a fork and said they had a little presentation. They pulled down a projector screen, dimmed the lights, and I assumed I was about to see one of those cheesy birthday slideshows, you know, baby pictures, family vacations, bad haircuts. I even smiled and raised my glass. What played instead was a 20-minute video titled, "The Failures of Alan Reeves." Yes, that was the actual title. Laura's voice came on, narrating like some documentary, Alan Reeves, failed husband, failed father, failed man. I froze. At first, I thought it was some dark joke that would flip into something heartfelt. It didn't. It was a parade of every mistake I'd ever made, stitched together like some twisted highlight reel. Pictures of the used car I bought that died after 3 months. The time I got passed over for a promotion. The family camping trip that got rained out. The backyard deck I never finished because I was working 60-hour weeks. People started chuckling. Then they started laughing. Laura detailed, in front of everyone, how I had failed her in the bedroom. Alan was never able to satisfy my needs, she said. But I stayed for the kids. I don't even know if that part was true. I don't care. I sat there, trying not to fall through the floor. Then came the finale. Each of my sons appeared on screen and gave a little speech. Nathan spoke first. "We've decided to legally change our last names to Mom's maiden name, Rivera," he said. "Because honestly, we'd rather not carry the name of someone who was never really there." I remember every single word. Cameron and Lucas echoed the same sentiment. And just like that, they were done. The lights came back on. People were silent. A few shifted in their seats. Some laughed nervously. I could feel everyone watching me, waiting for a reaction. Maybe they thought I'd scream. Or cry. Or storm out. I did none of that. I stood up, cleared my throat, and said, "Thanks for coming, everyone." Then I walked out, drove home, sat in the dark with my coat still on. I didn't sleep that night, or the next one. That was Saturday. It's now Thursday morning. My phone hasn't stopped since Monday. Calls, texts, Facebook messages. All from them. Turns out for the name change to go through, they need my signature. All three of them. Laura, too. They've been hounding me nonstop. Even Nathan's wife, Erica, called me, said she was worried about my mental state. She wasn't. She just wanted the paperwork signed. Cameron left me a voicemail yesterday saying I was being childish. Childish? For not helping the same people who humiliated me in front of my friends, my family, my coworkers. The same son who called me at 2 a.m. last year, crying because he was in debt from a poker game, the same debt I quietly paid off. That's the guy calling me childish. Maybe I wasn't the perfect dad. I missed some games. I worked too much. But I paid for everything: school supplies, medical bills, college applications. I helped Nathan with his house down payment when Laura wouldn't. I've been covering Lucas' tuition even though our divorce settlement said I didn't have to pass age 21. None of that seems to matter now. I don't know what I'm expecting from this post. I just needed to say it. To tell someone. To remind myself that I existed before they decided to erase me. Because something inside me broke when I walked out of that taproom. Something that's been bending for years finally snapped. And I think, no, I know they have no idea what I'm capable of when I finally stop being the one who always folds. So I'm turning my phone off for now. Taking a drive. Maybe up to the coast. I need to think. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not going to do what's expected of me. For a few days after the party, I didn't say a word to anyone. I ignored the calls. Let the texts pile up. Let Laura's urgent Facebook messages rot in the unread pile. I silenced every notification and left my phone face down on the kitchen table, only checking the screen once or twice a day. Mostly out of habit. I wasn't ready to hear their voices yet. Not when every one of them sounded like a demand. Not an apology. I spent those days alone in my small, quiet house. The same one where I used to host birthday parties with balloons and pizza and pin the tail on the donkey when the boys were still mine. I took a couple personal days from work, told my boss I wasn't feeling great. That was partly true. Mostly I just sat and thought. I replayed every moment from the taproom in my head. The way Laura smiled while reciting the most humiliating parts of our marriage like they were punchlines. The way Cameron laughed a little too hard. The way Lucas wouldn't even look at me while they said they didn't want my name anymore. And then I thought about everything I'd done for them. Nathan, the eldest. The one who orchestrated the entire night. He and his wife Erica had bitten off more than they could chew with that oversized house in the fancy part of town. They told everyone I just helped with the down payment. But that was only half the truth. For the last 3 years, I'd been quietly transferring $1,200 a month into Nathan's account to help cover the mortgage. Every single month. Cameron, the middle one. Always chasing the next big thing, always a little too confident for his own good. What people don't know is that Cameron has a gambling problem. Online poker, sports betting apps, even fantasy football leagues that get out of hand. I've bailed him out 4 times in the last 2 years. The last time was $8,000. I never told anyone, not even Laura. I didn't want to embarrass him. Lucas, my youngest, the one I still thought I had some hope with. When he started college, Laura said she'd cover tuition as part of our divorce agreement. But when it came time to pay, she suddenly didn't have it. And Lucas was on the verge of dropping out. I stepped in. I've been quietly covering his tuition, plus the rent on his off-campus apartment, ever since. They thought I was nothing more than a ghost of a father, a walking wallet who'd been emotionally absent. But they had no idea how much I'd been holding them up from the shadows. I could have cut them off right then and there. But I wanted something more. Not revenge. I'm not that kind of man. But consequences. They needed to feel, for once, what it was like when I wasn't there to clean up their messes. So I made a plan. I called Nathan first. Let the phone ring twice before I answered, like I'd been staring at it for hours. When I picked up, I made my voice shaky, breath a little uneven. Hey! I wasn't sure if I should call back. There was a long pause on the other end. Then, Dad? Are you okay? I don't know, I said. I guess I I don't know what I did to deserve that. Nathan exhaled heavily, like this was going to be exhausting for him. We weren't trying to hurt you. It was supposed to be funny. Make a point. Sometimes you don't see how you come across to other people. I bit the inside of my cheek. I just want to understand. I guess I haven't been the father you needed. Maybe we can talk, he said. Face to face. I suggested dinner. Just the 5 of us. One last meal together. I told him I needed closure to make peace. He agreed faster than I expected, almost too fast. The others were looped in the next day. Nathan chose the restaurant. One of those upscale Italian places with dim lighting and plates that cost more than my shoes. Typical. They assumed I'd pay. I always did. The night of the dinner, I dressed down. Old jeans. A wrinkled flannel. I didn't shave. I looked tired on purpose. I wanted them to see a man who had been broken. A man ready to beg for forgiveness. The role of the defeated father. When I arrived, they were already seated. Laura gave me a fake smile and touched my arm like we were old friends. Cameron barely looked up from his phone. Lucas gave me a tight, unreadable nod. Thanks for coming, Nathan said. I nodded, eyes on the menu. The dinner was, well, it was exactly what I expected. They talked a lot. About how hard things had been for them, how the video wasn't meant to be mean, how it was a wake-up call. Laura leaned in at one point and said, You have to admit, Alan, you were never really present. Even when you were home, it felt like you weren't there. I didn't answer. I just nodded. Cameron jumped in. We didn't do it to be cruel, Dad. We were trying to push you to be better. That's what family does, right? And then Nathan, smiling like he was being magnanimous. You agreeing to sign the paperwork. That means a lot. It shows you're finally taking responsibility. I almost laughed, but I kept my head down, picked at my pasta, and wiped my eyes a few times with my napkin like I was holding back tears. They ate it up. Every second of it. So I pulled out the envelope from my coat pocket and slid it across the table. I brought the forms, I said. I signed them. Cameron looked surprised. Laura blinked. Nathan nodded like a CEO finalizing a deal. Thank you, he said quietly. That really means a lot. I nodded too. I understand. I'm sorry I wasn't the father you needed. We paid the bill, or rather, I did. One last time. A farewell tax. Then I walked to my car, sat there for 10 minutes in silence, and when I got home, I launched the second half of my plan. I logged into my banking app. Step 1. Cancel the automatic monthly transfer to Nathan. Step 2. Email the bursar's office at Lucas's college and cancel the pending tuition payment. Step 3. Block Cameron's number entirely. Then I dug into my email. I found every message Cameron had ever sent me asking for money, every panicked plea, every Venmo receipt, every blurry screenshot of his betting losses. I collected screenshots of his DraftKings and online poker accounts he once stupidly shared with me for transparency. Then I wrote an email to his fiancée, Maya. Subject line, what Cameron hasn't told you. I didn't include a message. Just the screenshots. The receipts. The total amounts. Let the evidence speak for itself. That was 3 days ago. And since then, my phone has been doing backflips. Nathan left me a voicemail yesterday screaming about the bounced mortgage payment, said the bank had sent them a warning and their credit score was tanking. Erica was apparently losing her mind because they were hosting her extended family reunion next month and now they might lose the house. Lucas texted me 17 times in one afternoon after getting an email from his university about unpaid tuition and enrollment holds. He alternated between guilt-tripping me and trying to threaten legal action. You promised to support me, one message said. You're ruining my life, said another. But Cameron. Cameron was the meltdown. Maya showed up to my house yesterday afternoon. She was crying, holding her phone. She asked if the emails were real. I didn't say a word, I just nodded. She turned around, got in her car, and drove off. At 2:19 a.m., Cameron left me a voicemail I wish I could unhear. He was slurring his words, sobbing, then raging. He called me every name he could think of. Told me I'd betrayed his trust. Said I'd ruined his future. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so pitiful. And Laura? Laura has been texting me daily. Long paragraphs. Calls me vindictive, spiteful, says I'm tearing the family apart. Says I should think about what this is doing to the boys. The same woman who narrated a public roast of my personal life in front of 30 people is now asking me to be the bigger person. Funny how that works. But here's the truth, Reddit, I don't feel guilty. Not even a little. For 8 years I tried to keep some kind of connection with them. I swallowed my pride, I paid their bills, I stayed silent. I gave them everything I could while getting almost nothing in return but resentment and disrespect. They thought they could humiliate me and I'd just keep paying. Keep helping. Keep being the nice guy. They were wrong. And I'm not done yet. It's been nearly 2 weeks since that dinner, the last time I sat at a table pretending to be the man they expected me to be. I haven't heard Nathan's voice since he left that voicemail yelling about the mortgage. Haven't responded to Lucas's barrage of texts. Haven't even opened most of Laura's guilt-laced essays disguised as check-ins. But I've read enough. Enough to know their world is wobbling. And for once, I'm not the one trying to hold it steady. Let's start with Nathan. Turns out that little suburban palace he and Erica live in, the one with the 3-car garage and marble countertops, wasn't just stretched thin. It was already cracking. My monthly $1,200 wasn't a bonus. It was a life raft. Without it, their finances began collapsing almost immediately. The mortgage company hit them with a late payment notice within a week. Erica, I've heard, is in a full-blown panic because her extended family is supposed to fly in from out of state next month for their annual summer gathering. And now? There's a real chance the house might not be theirs by then. Nathan's credit score has dropped 40 points in 10 days. He's livid at me, of course. Not himself. Then there's Cameron. After Maya got those emails, the ones with his entire gambling history, she didn't just call off the engagement. She moved out of their shared apartment the same day. Changed her Facebook status, deleted all their pictures together, and posted something cryptic about learning to trust your gut. Red flag emojis and all. He's been couch surfing since. One of his friends, an old coworker of mine, actually told me he's been staying in their basement, drinking too much, texting Maya at all hours. He even tried showing up at her parents' house last weekend. They had to ask him to leave. And Lucas? Poor kid. He was always the quiet one, the one who hated confrontation. I almost feel bad for him, almost. After I pulled the plug on his tuition payment, the school put a hold on his enrollment. No payment, no classes. He was supposed to register for the next semester. Instead, he got hit with academic probation. Then he did something I didn't expect. He emailed my boss. The message was a mess, rambling, emotional, clearly written in the middle of the night. He said I was mentally unwell, that I was neglecting family responsibilities, that I'd gone dark and left him abandoned. Said someone needed to check on me. My boss, God bless him, has known me for almost 15 years. He forwarded the email to me with a single line, "Alan, thought you'd want to see this." I didn't respond. Not to him. Not to any of them. But I knew it was time. Time for phase 2. For the final chapter in this little family performance they've been directing. So I sent out a message. One group text. Just one. I'd like to have a family meeting. To make things right. Please come to my house this Saturday at noon. I'll order food. Let's find a solution that works for everyone. They all responded within the hour. Laura replied first, of course. I'm glad you're finally coming to your senses. Nathan said, we'll be there. Cameron just wrote, fine. Lucas didn't say much. Just a thumbs up emoji. That Saturday morning, I woke up early. Cleaned the house top to bottom, not for them, but for myself. I needed the space to be clear, calm, controlled. Put on fresh sheets in the guest room out of old habit even though no one was staying over. Ordered enough Chinese food to feed a football team, Nathan's favorite beef and broccoli, Cameron's usual General Tso's, Lucas loved crab rangoon, and Laura always liked hot and sour soup. Spent nearly $100. Didn't blink. They started arriving around 11:45. Laura was early, as usual. She wore a blazer like she was attending a parent-teacher conference. Nathan and Erica arrived together, barely speaking. Cameron came alone, looked like he hadn't slept in days. Lucas was last. His eyes looked sunken. No one hugged. No one smiled. I played host. Handed out drinks. Made small talk about the weather, the road construction on Route 12, how hot the summer had been. It was almost comical how polite we all were. But the tension? You could cut it with a steak knife. They were all clearly waiting for me to bring up money. Cameron kept fidgeting, checking his phone. Nathan tapped his foot, an old nervous habit he's had since he was a kid. Laura, ever the manager, kept glancing at the kitchen clock. Once everyone had a plate in hand, I stood up and said, before we eat, I want to share something with you. Nathan's face tightened. Cameron paused mid-bite. Laura raised an eyebrow. I walked over to the TV and plugged in the HDMI cable. Opened the laptop. They stared as the screen came to life. And then it started, their birthday video. The same one they played at my 50th. The humiliation reel. The narration. The laughter. The final gut punch of the name change announcement. I'd asked Cameron's friend, the one who managed the taproom, for a copy. Said I wanted it for memories. He sent it the next day. Guess he never thought I'd actually watch it again. But I did. Every second. And now so did they. 16 minutes and 22 seconds of silence in my living room. I watched their faces instead of the screen. Nathan flushed deep red. Cameron stared at his food. Lucas didn't blink. Laura, even she looked a little sick. When it ended, I walked back over and turned the lights on. Then I pulled out 4 manila folders from a drawer. Old-fashioned, I know, but there's something about real paper that makes things stick. I handed one to each of them. Names written in black marker on the tabs. Go ahead, I said. Take a look. Nathan's folder had a full record of every mortgage payment I'd made on his behalf over the past 3 years. $43,200. Line by line. Plus a letter. I will not seek repayment, but I will never provide financial assistance again. Cameron's folder? Screenshots of his betting accounts, his Venmo history, the texts he'd sent asking for help. The last page was confirmation of his enrollment in a free online gambling recovery program. Just show up, I wrote. Or don't. That's your call. Lucas's folder was simpler, a printout of all the tuition payments I'd made and a letter. Your balance for this semester is paid. It's the last payment I'll ever make on your behalf. And Laura's? Photos. Of her and her CrossFit trainer. Timestamped. Dated. Taken during the last year of our marriage when she swore there was no one else. I never used them during the divorce. I didn't want the boys to see her like that. I kept them out of it. But not anymore. Not after she stood in front of a room full of people and tore me apart. They all sat there, flipping through their folders. Quiet. Embarrassed. Exposed. I took a sip of my water, waited a moment, then said, one more thing. I reached into my bag and pulled out a final envelope. Inside? My own legal name change papers. Signed. Filed. Official. If they didn't want my name anymore, I figured I didn't either. I changed mine back to my mother's maiden name. A name that had dignity. A name that hadn't been spat on by the people I loved most. When I said it out loud, the silence was deafening. Nathan tried to speak, mumbled something about how the video wasn't supposed to be real. Cameron said, we were just trying to motivate you. Lucas looked like he might cry. Laura reached for my hand across the table and said, Alan, please. We can fix this. I pulled my hand back. You're welcome to finish the food, I said. But our business here is done. Then I picked up my jacket, walked to the door, and before stepping out, I added, make sure you lock up. Nathan asked where I was going. I smiled. I have a lunch date. And I did. With a woman named Audrey I'd met in a hiking group for folks over 40. Divorced, kind, funny. Has 2 grown kids who, imagine this, still talk to her with respect. We've only been out a few times. But I already feel lighter when I'm around her. And as I drove to meet her, I realized something. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like an afterthought. I felt like myself. It's been exactly 1 week since that final family meeting. Since the food got cold and the silence in my living room screamed louder than any shouting match ever could. Since I handed each of them a manila folder and walked out of the house, not because I was angry, but because I was finally free. And let me tell you something I never thought I'd say. It doesn't hurt as much as I expected. Don't get me wrong. There's pain, sure. There's a hole in your chest when your own children look at you and see someone disposable. When the people you raised, the ones you carried, fed, clothed, bailed out, treat you like a plot device in their own tragic little stories. But there's peace too. There's a strange, powerful calm that comes from knowing you finally chose yourself. For years, I did what was reasonable. I played the quiet father, the apologetic ex, the provider who didn't ask for thanks. I bent over backwards so they'd never feel abandoned, even after they left me in every possible way that counts. But now the roles are reversed. And they don't like it. In the days that followed the meeting, my phone stayed mostly silent. I guess after the folders, the name change, and the clear boundary lines I drew, they didn't know what to say. Except Lucas. He sent one text the next evening. Dad, can we talk? Just me and you. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I took a walk. It was late, around 9:30. I left my phone on the counter, grabbed a light jacket, and walked a few blocks down to the park near the high school, the same one where I used to take the boys for Little League practice and ice cream after games. The bleachers were still there, faded and cracked at the edges. I sat on the top row and just let the wind hit me. I thought about what Lucas wrote. And the thing is, I believe him. Or I want to. He was the youngest, the quietest, the one who never quite looked comfortable during the video or at the dinner or even during the folder presentation. I saw it in his face, guilt, maybe even shame. I don't think he orchestrated any of it. I think he followed. And I know what it's like to spend years following other people's expectations. So maybe one day soon I'll respond. Maybe we'll have that conversation. But not yet. I need space. Not from him, but from all of them, from the noise, the guilt, the mental gymnastics they used to make me feel like I was the one who failed. I'm done with that version of myself. The next day, I finalized the sale of the house I inherited from my parents. It wasn't fancy, a modest 2-bedroom ranch in a quiet cul-de-sac, but it held memories. Good ones. Ones I didn't want stained by everything that's happened. I got a decent offer from a young couple expecting their first child. They loved the old hardwood floors and the backyard oak tree. I handed them the keys with a smile. They didn't know the history behind that house and I didn't offer it. Some stories deserve to be left behind. I moved into a small rental outside town. Nothing big, just enough space for me and my thoughts. Clean walls. New beginnings. I bought a second-hand couch that doesn't sag in the middle. Got a small kitchen table that fits too. For now, that's all I need. Audrey came over last night. Brought a bottle of red wine and a pie she made from scratch. She's like that, thoughtful without being performative. She asked if I was okay, and when I paused, she said, "You don't have to answer." We sat on the balcony and watched the sunset melt over the hills. We talked about hiking trips and how neither of us can seem to grow basil indoors. At one point, she reached over and gently touched my hand. "You seem lighter," she said. I smiled. "I am. We're not rushing anything. No declarations, no labels. Just two people finding each other after years of being misunderstood. I don't know where it'll go. And for once, I don't need to. I've learned that not every ending needs to be wrapped in bows and apologies. Sometimes closure is just a locked door. As for Laura, she's still spinning. I've heard from a few mutual friends that she's been telling people I've lost my mind. That I'm going through a late-life identity crisis. Classic Laura, when she loses control, she tries to control the narrative. She doesn't know about Audrey. She doesn't know I've been sleeping better than I have in years. She doesn't know I'm planning a solo road trip to Yellowstone next month, something I've wanted to do for decades, but she always said camping was beneath us. Yeah? I'm packing my bags. I'll take the long way. No schedules. No destinations. Just me, a map, and the open road. For my 51st birthday, I don't want a party. I don't want presents or cake or half-hearted speeches from people who don't really see me. I want silence. I want a tent under the stars. I want to make my own fire and sit beside it, knowing that I don't owe anyone an explanation for who I am anymore. I changed my name. But more importantly, I changed my story. I stopped being the background character in everyone else's life and finally started writing my own chapter. So to anyone reading this who's felt like an afterthought in their own family, who's been told they're a failure, a disappointment, a burden. You're not. You're just around the wrong people. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. And it's never too late to start over, even at 50. Especially at 50.